Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to show you guys the new weapons that are coming in episode 3. So stay tuned, there are about 4 or 5 of them, and we're going to walk through each and every one of them individually, and I'm going to end up with the Chameleon as the last one. If you want to skip, I have timestamps for you in the description below, so just click to the one that you want to actually view information about. Let's start out with the rifle, the UIC 15 Mod 2. This is a rifle. Its accuracy and stability are ranging somewhere closer to 80% range. It's actually pretty decent. It doesn't come with any special talents that I know of so far. I think I have about 2 of these, and so far they've just come with our regular talents that is actually native to a lot of the other weapons in the game. Also note that this weapon has a very weird slight look to the Carbine 7. So you might want to mod this with a skin or a color that actually showcases it, so that maybe if you're in the middle of a fight and you want to switch weapons, then you can just go ahead and swap to the right weapon rather than swapping to the wrong weapon. Now, in terms of modding this weapon, it does use the 5.56 standard, so a lot of your optics mods are going to work for this. 552 ACOG, C79, CQB SS. Some people probably use that for 30% headshot damage, but if you're using the sharpshooter specialization, the digital scope, the EXPS 3, which is the 8% damage to elite mod, pro dot sight if you want more stability, reflex sight, rugged mini reflex, Russian red dot sight, a small RDS, and the T2, and also the VX1 scope. Everyone has a different way they build. Some people will not bother using any of the scopes that, except the ones that give them stability. Me, in my builds, now for rifles, I don't run this digital scope, but when I'm using my marksman rifles, this is the only scope that I run. Even though people tell me that the scope is pointless, in my mind, I'm thinking, why am I going to put away 45% headshot damage away? I'm using a mouse and a keyboard. So once in a while, I can land a few headshots, and when they land, I see the difference, if you understand what I mean. Now, in terms of the magazine, it uses the 5.56 magazine, which then gives you a whole host of other magazines that you can also use. You can use a 20-round mag. You lose 10% reload speed. You can use the 20% stability mag. You can use the infantry 5.56 mag as well if you're using the survivalist specialization, and then you can use a light extended 5.56 mag as well as a tactical 5.56 mag for more crit damage. If you're going for a major crit damage build, this is probably something that you can consider. Depends on how you build. I'm not going to say and tell you how to build. In terms of long underbarrel, 10% stability, the angle grip, the hand stop, the laser pointer, the short grip, the small laser pointer, the vertical grip are grips that you can use. I don't know if I have my mods 100% complete, but these are the muzzles that are available right here, right now. In terms of the muzzle, also the 5.56 muzzle standard. So you have the stability compensator, the flash hider, large suppressor for accuracy, loud vent brake for range, muzzle brake for damage to elites, and then a stability mod as well. So these are the mods that you can use. Now, what I'll do here in this video, for those of you who may be a little curious about these, let me see. Let's do something along the lines of crit damage or whatever. Along the lines of how the weapon fires, because I know a lot of people are probably going to be curious about that. We're going to fire the weapon a little bit before we then go to the rifle, okay? So let's take this bad boy down the range. I hope I have the right rifle. There it is. Has a very beautiful sound. I really enjoy the way the sound is. And depending on how you build with your rifle builds, it should serve you well. In terms of the MK17 and a comparison, let me see if I have an MK17 here so that we can look at some comparative damage numbers. I don't have an MK17 here. I should have one in the chest. Sorry about that. Oh, there we go. So the MK17 that I have here, military MK17, is doing about 38,300, and that's based on this build. So 37.9, another one. This is not a rifle build, obviously, but if you're, trying to compare the numbers, if we look at what this particular weapon is doing in terms, it's doing only 14,000. Now, also note, I know many people are like, oh, but it's, you also have to note, though, that, you know, this weapon right now and these numbers are, let me see. This is a development build. This stuff might change, you know, eventually. I don't know how soon they plan on doing, if they're going to be doing any changes or whatever. But the MK17 right now still seems to be a good, solid, you know, rifle in terms of, let's just take a look at it. Okay. Yeah, the MK17 just seems to be a solid contender in terms of all kinds of fun stuff. Now, in terms of modding your MK17, that's also where you have to say, okay, what, you know, where are we in terms of this? MK17 does everything that this weapon, you know, can do, except for its accuracy and except for, you know, its stability, but, you know, and reload speed. But other than that, you know what so for those of you who are looking, you know exactly what to be expecting. This is a weapon that you probably want to farm for. The weapon is fine. Its stability and accuracy makes it really good, but I do not know why these numbers are like this. This might be a bug, folks, so take this with a grain of salt. Okay, now second weapon that we're looking at today is the G28 Marksman Rifle. This Marksman Rifle is a very decent weapon in my opinion, has decent accuracy, decent stability, and also has a just a series of talents that go on Marksman Rifles. Also note that this also kind of looks, you know, somewhat black or bland, so be careful when you're trying to equip this. The weapon, its modification system, uses the marksman rifle modification system, a whole series of scopes like I showed you guys before, which is actually pretty cool because, you know, that's what it is. And then in terms of the muzzle, uses the 7.62 standard, so your 7.62 stuff is going to work here as well. In terms of your underrail, you're also looking at a series of underrails that you can use with this as well over here. And then in terms of your magazine, you use the 7.62, which, you know, the 7.62 also has a 20 round extended magazine, headshot magazine, reload speed magazine, and stability magazine. That's what I currently own. Now, this particular weapon, though, one of the things I do not like about it, I don't know if this is going to be a change. Sorry, I'm using the wrong weapon. One of the things I do not know about this weapon is if this weapon is going to stay like this, because the way the numbers now show in terms of a scope that's zoomed in to give you more numbers, I don't like it. To be honest, I kind of know my numbers when I do my test and all that. Now, the one thing I would say is this weapon is not going to contend with the SVD. I already did a comparison. I'll do a comparison video for you guys. And, you know, the SVD is still going to remain the champion of, you know, the marksman rifles so far, other than the Nemesis and the other stuff, you know, like the other bolt action rifles. In terms of the semi-automatic, I think the SVD is still here to stay and remain, you know, number one. But you never know, somebody might do a build that works with and leverages some of the strengths of this weapon in terms of how well it works. Okay, now moving on, let's move on to the assault rifle families, and we're going to look at the Chameleon and the Honey Badger. But let's do the Honey Badger first, which is not the exotic. The Honey Badger is a weapon that is of almost similar comparison to the P416. Now, it is also, in the numbers that I've gotten here, I got two of them, it's also a little bit under the Carbine 7. So if you don't find one, like, you know, I don't think you should be, I don't think you should be anxious. I think this weapon is just, brought out to kind of be another weapon that, joins the league of general weapon use and not top tier weapons. I wish they made it somewhat top tier, but this is a build. This is development build, work in progress. These numbers might change when the full build comes around. Now, in terms of talents, this weapon takes on the talents that are, regular to assault rifles. I have two here that have, altogether 6, unique talents by themselves. There's nothing that comes with like maybe the overflowing that you have from this particular Carbine 7 or you had like in the LAMG. Okay, so that's pretty much what it is. In terms of its modding system, it uses the 556 modding system. You have a series of scopes as well that you can use for this. If you want to go ahead and look through these, you can pause the video and, take a look at them. So that way, if you have those scopes, but that's, I think, almost all the scopes that are even available in the game. In terms of the underrail, you have the angled grip, hand stop, laser pointer, short grip, small laser pointer, vertical grip. And then in terms of the magazine, you have the 5.56 family. Everything from the stability all the way through the critical hit damage, and also the beautiful sturdy for 20 extra rounds. There is no muzzle modification for this weapon, so that's another place where it kind of sort of falls short, but it is a good weapon in my opinion. It's not here to become OP, if you understand what I mean. It's just a decent weapon. Okay, now moving on to the Chameleon. Chameleon is the exotic rifle, changes color like crazy, by the way. I've seen like 6 different colors of this thing. It's ridiculous. Now, base damage looks really low because my build is whack. This build on this character, I was working on it before I finally just tossed it aside and went and, you know, built one around my Merciless on my second character. So that's why my numbers look really low like this. Now, also note, these numbers can change. This is just a development build of some kind, so take this with a little grain of salt. Now, in terms of its talents, we already know the talents, the adaptive instincts. This is what makes this weapon quite unique. It's just a weapon for you to keep firing. Now, I think this weapon is probably going to benefit from skill builds in a sense, because the more you fire, the more you gain all these let me say perks. Now, in terms of adaptive instincts, you have to get the 30 headshots to get the critical hit chance, which I think is, you know, can be probably a little challenging to get. But the 60 body shots, all you have to do is empty, you know, a clip and a little bit, and you get all this weapon damage. And I think this is where it will shine for skill power folk. And even the 30 leg shots for the extra reload speed, that also can count for, you know, for your benefit. So it's going to be a challenging weapon to use. The weapon has not impressed me so far, but I guess we're going to see, you know, how people go ahead and start using this weapon when when it finally starts to drop and people start getting their hands on it and builds start to show up. So that's the Chameleon for you. I've also done a video about the Chameleon versus the Eagle Bear, so you want to check out that video. The mods are a 15% accuracy optics mod. The magazine is a 20 round magazine. The muzzle slot's a critical hit chance muzzle, and the grip is a 10% critical hit chance grip. So it does have a lot of critical hit chance, so you can take this kind of weapon and you can actually do some really good stuff with it. Now, if you look at this is like this, you know, this is almost the same percentage critical hit chance a regular SMG will have in the game. Nothing crazy, by the way. So it's just the way that they've actually put it in there. But, you know, that also gives you that critical hit chance and, you know, the health damage of your assault rifle. So it will work for skill builds in terms of getting that extra damage, but largely in terms of your critical hit chance builds, I think this is where this weapon is going to shine, because not only is it now, you know, some kind of a, you know, assault rifle in a sense, it does have some, you know, I think it now has some improved range, but then it has the stability of that SMG that goes with it as well. Its accuracy, though, is really off, so you kind of have to get in slightly closer to be able to leverage, you know, that accuracy. When you're shooting from a distance, it is nothing compared to a lot of the other you know, weapons that you have out here in terms of your other assault rifles. So I hope this was helpful for you in terms of these weapons. Now we're going to look at the specialization weapon, which is the fire starter. It's a double barrel shotgun, and this does a, you know, 190,000 base damage based on my build. Reload time is about 2 seconds, and it has the talents primer rounds. Damaged enemies lose 50% burn resistance for 5 seconds. Then it has Jazz Hands, which gives you more reload speed, which is pretty cool. And then it has the Greased Talents, which says, while holstered, weapon swap speed is increased by 10%. So if you're using this weapon and it's just holstered, then you're swapping your weapons much faster. So these are the weapons coming to episode 3. So far, so good, what we know about them. And I hope you guys, you know, have some creative build ideas ready to go. Let me hear what you think in the comment section. I didn't fire the Honey Badger and the Chameleon for you guys. I almost forgot that. So let's go ahead and fire them. Has a lot of rate of fire. Rate of fire is pretty good. 900 RPM. And you can quickly drop those rounds very fast. I think everyone is so worried about how many rounds they can drop. Now, the one thing I don't see is, when you're done hitting all these shots, I don't see a thing that says, oh, Chameleon on the bottom. But if you look on the right side here, you see 3 different markers that say, hey, you know, you've hit that, you've actually activated the buff. Now let's try some headshots. I can hit 30 headshots for the life of me. See, I'm trying to get the headshots now. The headshots one is the one on the top. Let's see if we can figure that. Oh, nice. I'm glad that it saved it and you can switch from target to target. Its accuracy is very weak. We're almost there. Crit damage is now better. And there's a 45-second buff for all of them, so I can use this to gather my body shots. The headshot one is going to be quite challenging to get, and obviously the bottom one is going to be the knee, hitting the leg shots, which, you know, these target things don't have knees. So let's look at the honey badger and fire that a little bit. So that's the sound. The sounds of the weapons are, well, I guess because they're kind of miniature weapons in a sense, you know, tiny compatible weapons. So their sounds are not like the P416. It sounds like a monster, or maybe your MK16 or whatever. And then let me fire this weapon for you guys. I'll show you guys specialization weapon in a different video, okay? And then reload speed, jazz hands, boom, boom, reload speed, jazz hands, boom, boom. So those are the weapon sounds. If you wanted to hear them, I mean, you guys are gonna most likely farm all these and get them by the time the patch comes out. So thank you once again for your time and audience. Let me hear what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.